Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Radio Free Urbanism, a podcast about urbanism and stuff. Yeah, you know what? We're getting there. We're getting there. I, of course, am your host. I'm Alex Williams, and I'm delighted today to be joined by my good friend Nic Laporte.
Hello, and welcome back, everybody. It's good to be here. I'm so happy you finally invited me on the show. I got so much to say.
Do you know what? I have been doing this show solo for so long. All it is yap, yap, yap from Alex all the time, nonstop. So I'm very pleased as punch to have you join us. And in the live chat today, if you want to join the live chat, you can go to patreon.com/radiofreeurbanism. And for as little as $1 a month, you can catch the show live and hang out in our Discord with cool people like Skitch, Austin, Willie, and Jen, who join us here today, who are going to be able to contribute a little bit to the conversation, ask some additional questions. They've already sent in a couple that we'll be chatting about later. But yeah, and of course, how could I forget? Ethan Myers, welcome. Oh, no, Ethan?
No, Ethan.
Oh, man.
He's not here.
Well, I'm so sad. I will miss Ethan deep down in my heart. He will be back, folks. He had some urgent urbanist business to attend to. I'm pretty sure he's building a railway out west there. So, what are we doing here today, Nick? You've got a thing to say.
I just wanted to shout out, there was a collab between Patty Waynes, the bicycle mayor of Winnipeg, and Tom, who's on the show, aka Shifter on YouTube, and they swapped videos. Basically, it was like a +1, -2 cycling in different cities. Obviously, Tom was in Calgary, and Patty, this is actually from Sao Paulo, Brazil, which was very fascinating because it's a country there. Like, I don't really think about what's going on in Brazil as far as micromobility and active transportation networks go. I didn't know. So that was probably the most interesting part for me, was to see what that looks like in Sao Paulo. It was very interesting. I also didn't even know, do they ride or drive on the wrong side? Yeah, I think they drive on the wrong side of the street there.
I don't think so. I don't think so. No,
because
I'm pretty sure they drive on the right.
The doors on the bus were on the other side. That was
weird. Well, that depends. Well, some buses you'll get that if they
the center running station.
Yeah, if
basically?
they have like a center running station,
they drive on the right. My bad.
So actually, we've had Christian Lenhart on the show before, and Christian worked on some of the transit plans in Utah, and in some spots they have doors on both sides of their buses, so that depending where the buses open up, you can do that. Now, I kind of want to talk about, we've got on the video here, if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, I want to talk about this center running bike lane. And this was a thing that they brought up, that they talked about in the episode, but I have some thoughts that they did not talk about. How do you feel about center running bike lanes?
I don't like them necessarily. Yeah. Like, I made a video about the one in San Francisco on, I can't remember the name of the street, in the Mission District. I can't remember. Anyway, they have a center running one that I think they're finally changing to make it curbside. Right. But generally, I don't like them there. I thought it was okay. It was fine because it was just one lane of cars on both sides of the bike lane, which was okay. It was not great. There was definitely a better situation you could build. Curbside would be better. And these ones I really don't like, because you're talking about 2 boulevards on either side that are multi-lane wide. Like, we got 3 or 4 lanes here on either side of this bike lane. That's not great. It's a traffic sewer, basically. They stick you in the middle. You see some of these that are in the middle of highways. I see these pop up on Reddit occasionally, and people are like, oh, wow, look at this, is a great place to, put a bike lane in the middle of a highway. It just, no thanks.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I think part of the issue is that you have limited access to the things that are on the side of the street, right? To businesses and shops and housing that's on the side. Willie in the chat says this is a case of better than nothing, but definitely not ideal. That's kind of how I feel. I do think it is better than nothing, but also part of the benefit of being a cyclist is that it's easier to stop at local businesses. That's why we talk about, we know that cyclists tend to spend more money at local businesses because it's easier for them to just stop, park their bike, pop into a store, grab what they need, whereas when you have a center running bike lane, it means you're squished into the middle. It's more of a transportation mode and less of a facilitating of commerce and community. That's my take, at least.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. The street in San Francisco is Valencia Street. It took me a while to remember what that's in the Mission District. But yeah, like you said, I think the access to the curb is a big deal. And it's a big reason why bike lanes give a boost to business, is just having that access, going at a slower speed and being able to access the business that you might see when you're going down the street.
Yeah. And I want to bring up something too, as we're talking about, these bike lanes, especially the center running bike lanes. I just finished Jarrett Walker's Human Transit book, which is fantastic. Highly, highly recommend. He talks about if you are building a street and it's, a big wide road, you might want to consider having crossings every 400 meters or so to prevent people from just like, well, the thing I need is across the street and both of the crossings are way too far away from me. I'm just going to jaywalk, which could be potentially dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I am feet first, as I always say. I believe pedestrians have the right of way and pedestrians are a priority. Cities are for people, right? But we need to also build our environment in a way that fosters safe behavior and safe acting. And so he talks about, making sure that you have ways to cross. And these boulevards are very long and extensive, and there's not necessarily a safe place to cross. But it was interesting to see urbanism and bike lanes and things like this in another country that I feel like we don't talk about enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. One last comment to highlight here before we move on to the next thing. Jen says, great videos, loved the female perspective. She called out things Tom didn't and vice versa. Yeah, this is why I think it's important. Everybody needs to speak up. And if you see somebody who, doesn't have access to speaking up or doesn't feel comfortable to speaking up, trying to find a way to make sure that those voices get heard in the conversation. Because if we design a city for ourselves, we're completely missing the mark. But let's talk about, guess what? Guess what we're going to talk about?
Is it going to be something in Calgary? Maybe it has to do with a color. Maybe it has rails.
A color. Yeah. And do you think maybe like a 2-dimensional or a 1-dimensional?
Yeah, 1-dimensional
sketch in the live chat calls it the Green Line. Yes. We are going to talk about the Green Line. This is actually good news about the Green Line. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful to have good news about the Green Line? This headline from the Calgary Herald says, province says federal government approves Green Line funding, construction to proceed. Now, if you have missed this saga for some reason, let me give you the Coles notes here. So the Green Line has been, kind of being vaguely planned for 40 years now, right? The right of way has been set aside for decades. And then eventually in the 2000s, we start to say, hey, our city has cracked 1 million people. We're probably going to need this new train line by the time we reach 1.2 million people, especially for people who live in Southeast Calgary. If you live in Southeast Calgary, you know what I'm talking about. If you live in Northeast Calgary, your buses are packed absolutely to the gills, and that we need this new train line in order to feed that capacity and keep people in our city moving. So then all of these things, province says, hold on a second, we want to double check it. 2 years later, the city's like, hey, is it good? The province says, yeah, you're good to go. A little while later, the province says, maybe not. Actually, yes, you are good to go. Then they start construction. They start working on the Green Line. They start moving utilities. And then the province says, actually, just kidding. We don't want you to do it underground. We know you already started work on that, but no. Then they say, okay, they get this new alignment. They say, okay, I guess fine, we'll have to go above ground for downtown. But then because there's this new alignment set up, they had to go back to the federal government, which, by the way, if you know anything about what's going on in Canada right now, our federal government has many things to worry about, and also an upcoming election. Now, the deadline for making sure that this funding was still good to go is March 31st. Today, you'll notice, is not far off of March 31st, 2025. So we finally got it. Federal government said, yeah, okay, good to go. Let's get cracking on this thing. Start the construction. So that's good news, right?
Great news.
We're glad to hear this. Yeah. And I know a lot of people are disappointed about it going above ground, but the bottom line is we need transportation. Our goal is to move people around the city, right? We can talk about the best alignment. Unfortunately, I don't think what we are getting is the optimal alignment, but it is going to move people, and that's the goal. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Any thoughts on this, Nick?
Sorry, I just reading the comments here. What Austin said about catcalling Tom Babin. I don't know what. I've met Tom before, and he does not seem like the type that would be comfortable with being catcalled. It would probably be on his mind all day. What the heck did that guy say to me? Yeah. Sorry, distracted me. But
we might have to put this to the test, Austin. Maybe
yeah,
we'll
you're gonna have to try
go find Tom biking around.
More train good. That's what I have to say about the Green Line, and it's good to see that there's some movement on that.
Yeah. I think we're happy to see that the federal funding is still coming through. Nick, you have a story for us.
This is coming out of Toronto, and it's kind of an update. You know, it's a recurring story. We're talking about the bike lane situation in Toronto with the Ontario Premier passing the bill to basically remove bike lanes in Toronto and prevent new lanes from being built in certain situations where they will take away space from cars. And this is coming from Cycling Magazine, Canadian Cycling Magazine. So on Monday, a large group of cyclists assembled at the engineering firm tasked with removing bike lanes on behalf of the Ontario government. Cycling advocate and lawyer David Shelnut, so he runs the Biking Lawyer Instagram page and other social media pages. Fantastic. If you don't follow them right now, check him out. He just posts really great stuff and information about how to deal with the law when it comes to cycling if you end up in a crash, or just dealing with the police like they did here. So they were there. So the group wanted to have a conversation with employees at Stantec about the importance of keeping the infrastructure intact for the safety of cyclists. The protests, led by Fridays for Future TO, resulted in employees at Stantec calling the police, and 2 protesters were arrested for trespassing. So that's not great, but at least, you know, there's a little silver lining here. They were let go like almost immediately. They didn't hurt anybody. Nobody got hurt. And they had their obligations. They had to do that. The funny thing is, though, if you're not looking at the photo, you can see the police officers were also on bicycles, which is, it's just kind of weird. But
that's why I call bike lanes police lanes.
Police lanes, yeah. Freedom lanes, enforcement lanes, whatever you want to call them. But yeah. It's not great what's going on. You know, this it does suck with this whole situation in Toronto. But what we're seeing, and again, and I keep bringing this up, is there's a silver lining. It's the fact that it's getting people turned on to the fact that these things are important. They're important for our communities. You're seeing people fight for it. And I feel like it's that the pendulum swinging back in the other direction. That's when it's going to help push that the other way to really get a new bike boom that we really need. I honestly think it's something it's really important for the safety of our cities. Obviously, no, I think that. But here's a few images. You can see some protesters there with some signs that say bike lanes save lives. Shame on Stantec. Cancel the contract. Build better cities. And cancel the contract. It's interesting. Like, I'm wondering if this is going to put enough pressure on the company for them to think about future contracts that maybe they don't want to take. Maybe they don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder about that. Like, if you're a business and you're just kind of like, well, I'm doing a job. Like, my job is to, you know, build streets and, you know, build things, you know? And so you take a contract and you're doing a job. I don't know. Like, at what point do you start saying, like, well, we don't take contracts that involve more than 10 gallons of yellow paint, right? Like, now I know, listen, I know that bike lanes are different than paint. Obviously, they should be, at
Hopefully.
least. I get that. But I don't know. I wonder how effective it is to be protesting the company as opposed to going to your city councillor and like going to your, in Ontario, your MPP, right? Like, actually talking about the people who are making the decision about these things, right?
Yeah. Well, they did start at Queen's Park. Like, they started at the building where Ontario government does their thing in Toronto.
Right.
And then by tier afterwards, they've been doing protests in Queen's Park all the time.
That's fair. Yeah.
But they do need to do it more and really make a presence known. Like, do a die-in or something on a busy day when you're expecting them to be leaving Queen's Park, like the politicians who are responsible for this or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how you get the message across. I also, like, This is part of the struggle. Most people are totally fine with wheeling lanes. They're totally fine with kids being able to get to school safely. Like, most people are pro that, not just fine, but like, yeah, okay, you're saying like my kid has a safe place where they can independently have the freedom and opportunity to get to where they need to go without having to be dependent on somebody else to take them there, right? And you mean at the same time that I am going to see reduction in how many cars are on the road in front of me, right? Like, most people are pro these things. And so that's why I think it's really important. Obviously, I'm preaching to the choir here, guys. Like, everybody here knows this. I imagine most of our listener base is, regular municipal election voters and are regular people who show up to city council hearings and try and be involved in their community and work in advocacy and all of these things. But this is why it's important that you talk to the people who are kind of on the edges, right? Like, most people don't show up with any decision that any government makes ever. There's going to be 2% of people who are really, really mad about it, 1% of people who are very, very happy about it, and 97% of people are just like, I don't know, I'm just trying to feed my family. Like, I literally am just trying to put food on the table. And I think that's a really important perspective to remember. So when you are advocating for these things, look at voter turnouts. Look at how many people show up to elections. Look at how many people are showing up to these things, to fight for these things that they also might enjoy. Like, a lot of people are probably going to walk out their door one day and say like, there used to be a bike lane there. I like that bike lane, right? You need to go and find these people who are too busy putting food on their table, and you need to make sure that you advocate with them. Hopefully,
yeah. And I think being able to smartly convey those messages to people who are either not that interested or, like you said, are too busy living their lives to really pay attention. And that's something I'm trying to deal even just with my personal life and my friends and the things we talk about when it comes to politics and bike lanes and stuff. And it's just being able to talk to somebody who I know well and convey a message where they go, oh, okay, I see. Like, I understand that now. And that's really hard to do. It's really hard to do because a lot of these things, they are political. They get heated very quickly, and people often have opinions about things that they know nothing about, myself included. I think we all do. What Jen said something in the chat last week. It's this, I don't know, some psychologist thought it up, and it's basically when you know nothing, you're very confident. And then as you learn more, you are less and less confident until you really are an expert where you're confident.
Yeah. The Dunning-Kruger effect.
Dunning-Kruger effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of it, and I had this, sorry, go ahead.
You got to be ready to say, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. So with my campaign, as I've been campaigning to be a city councilor here in Calgary, I have shown up at doors. And of course, I have the things that I feel like I know a little bit about, I can speak very confidently about. But there are some things when I show up at the doors and somebody says, hey, I am worried about this, right? I'm concerned about this. And I can say, honestly, that is something that I'm not as familiar with. I'd love to hear your thoughts and try and understand more where you're coming from on this issue. It's okay. And more than okay, I think it's important to admit when you don't know something and to ask people for their feedback and for their input and for their help, because you can't know everything. There is too much to know. I don't know if you've noticed this, but there is a lot to know. And you just can't know all of it.
You can't. It's impossible.
Yeah. But I'd like to continue this conversation. Actually, the thing that I wanted to bring up today was this, basically exactly this topic of conversation, as opposed to a story, is how to talk to people about things. Nic, do you talk to people much about this stuff in your outside life?
No, not really.
Yeah.
It's again, like we were saying just before, it's big stuff. This is everyday stuff that seems innocuous, but people have a lot of big opinions about them. And to really get into it, you need some time. I feel like you need some 3-hour podcast. I was going to say somebody's name. I was like, screw that guy. 3-hour long podcast conversation amount of time for some of these things. And even for the simplest things, you really need a lot of time just to try to convey if somebody doesn't know about induced demand, you could come up with an analogy to really explain it real quickly, but will they really get it? I don't know. I don't think so. I think you really need to talk about the whole big picture. And it takes a
Yeah.
while. It's hard
Yeah.
to. I do to friends. I talk about it with friends if they want to talk about it. If they bring it up, let's go. I'm like, game on, buddy. I can't wait to just get right into it. But otherwise, I just try not to because I don't know.
I mean, it's always best with friends because you have an idea of where they're coming from, right? Like if you just spawn in front of somebody on the sidewalk and start yapping at them, you're kind of lost. You're losing it, right?
Yeah.
And I just want to pause here. We actually have a record number of live viewers right now at 5.
Holy.
Jack has hopped into the live chat here. So again, if you want to join the live chat, patreon.com/radiofreeurbanism. And you can come and support the show and join cool people like Jack, Jen, Skitch, and Willie and Austin. Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to have so many people here. Yeah, Austin says more people to distract the hosts. Yeah, ain't that the truth? But yeah, talking to people, sitting down and actually having in-depth conversations and trying to understand where people come from. Most people are good actors, right? Most people are trying to make the best of their neighborhood, make the best of their life. And try and be, supportive people, right? Like people are trying to live their life. And so I think if you're able to actually sit down and engage for a little bit, as opposed to just like judging somebody right off the bat, based on the color of t-shirt they wear, as we go into this federal election here in Canada, I know we've got a lot of American listeners, but a lot of Canadian listeners too here. And Nick and I are both Canadian. Try not to be like too judgmental of somebody's t-shirt. Really, like try your best to dig into their ideas and wonder, how is this going to relate to the issues that I care about? I'm constantly telling people whenever somebody says, "Oh, well, they're conservative, so they think this," or "They're liberal, so they think this." I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Did they say that? Did they say that? No. Well, like maybe take a moment and ask them. Either ask them or just don't assume that they hate this or love that because of the t-shirt that they're wearing. Mm-hmm. That's my thing.
I think a really good communication tool, this is one that I actually use with my wife a lot. And years ago, I talked to her about it. I was like, let's try doing this. And we use it a lot. And it's super useful to be able to understand each other. When somebody makes a point, just repeat it back to them so that they go, yes, that's what I mean. Right. Because a lot of the times when you're having communication errors, it's having to do with just not understanding the other person's position. And that's hard. It's hard to communicate your ideas. It is. I'm someone who's not very good at it, I think. So to get to a place where you can repeat back something somebody said to you and they agree with that, then you can really understand each other. So, and sometimes that'll happen. And you're like, yeah, that's what I meant. But also, you're an absolute moron, and I think that opinion's wrong. But that's fine. That's we have to talk about things and be mad at each other. It is what it is.
And sometimes you'll realize that, you actually agree on something.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you're just talking past each other, and then when you whittle it down, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we're totally on the same page. Mm-hmm. I don't know why we were fighting about that.
Yeah. And I think one of the big things in urbanism that I think is really relatable is the fact that we don't want stinky cars in our neighborhood. No, like literally nobody does, right? Like this is what we're all fighting for, is just a nicer place to live. We just disagree on where those stinky cars and crappy things we don't want should be, which I think is a class issue more than anything, but I don't want to get into it.
And we want safe streets too. Like this is, I've chatted with a few people who are city councilors and work in councilors' offices, and something that they've mentioned to me is that most of the emails they get is people are driving too fast through my neighborhood here, or this crosswalk is not safe. Can we do something about that? Right. Mm-hmm. Like people want these things, but it's really hard to, like really mobilize people out to just be like, hey, I'll make this crosswalk safer. People show up for different things and for different reasons.
Yeah, man, I wish we could adopt policies and engineering that really prioritize the safety of people, that not only does that, but can also prioritize the movement of people at the same time. It seems like there's options out there that can help do that, but we just, for whatever reason, don't want to implement them. I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of the time we just like politicize things. Like every little thing kind of gets tinkered with and messed with, and people want to say in this and have a say over that. And yeah,
but just even like roundabouts, like think about roundabouts. It's something in North America we're becoming, more comfortable using them and seeing them in our communities, but it's something that isn't used widely when I think we could use them a lot more liberally. Like one experience I had in the Netherlands was, you think about roundabouts. Oh yeah, get a roundabout in your city. No, roundabouts in the countryside, ladies and gentlemen. What an incredible idea. I used to drive a lot in the countryside in Ontario, a lot of straight, long streets in the countryside that intersect. And what happens is usually there's stop signs in only the one directions. You'd say east, west, and then north, south there's no stop sign. Those are the worst ones to try to cross when you're at the stop sign and then there's cars going 90 kilometers an hour in either direction. Not great. Just put a roundabout there, guys. They're great. And then you slow down, you go around the roundabout, everything's hunky dory. There's no like T-bone crazy accidents where people are killing each other. Anyway. A pro roundabout. That's all I want to say.
I will say some people are too pro roundabout. Like some people I talk to, they see an intersection, they're like, that should be a roundabout. I'm like, well, not necessarily. Like it really depends what you want to do. And that's why that's what I think like the core of what we talk about on the show distills down to is like having different tools for the job, right? Like you'll notice on my shelf behind me, I have these clogs. I have clogs on the shelf behind me. Those are not my normal shoes that I wear. That is part of an outfit that I wear for my choir performances, right? Like that is not my normal outfit. And it's not even for all of my choir performances that we wear like the full outfit. It's different tools for the job. I have a Cavalry FC scarf on my shelf as well. And that I don't wear it out every day, but I wear it when I go to soccer games.
I thought it always said Calgary.
No, it sure looks like it. Yeah.
Cavalry.
Yeah. The Calgary Cavalry.
Yeah.
So it's about finding the right tool for the job. Do we need a roundabout there? Is that going to accomplish the goals that we want? Again, plug for Human Transit by Jarrett Walker. He talks about that. He talks about like how you have to find what is the goal we are trying to accomplish? Are we trying to serve people downtown more? Are we trying to get people in and out of downtown more? Are we trying to get people to their grocery store better? Are we trying to service high schools better? What is the goal we are trying to accomplish with our transit service? Whether it's like the transit service as a whole or with a specific route, you can apply that to cars. How many are we trying to get cars through this area fast, right? That's what highways are for. Are we trying to make access routes for people to pick up and drop off their kids from swim practice or hockey practice? Are we trying to like support people coming downtown for concerts, right? Like all of these things require different tools. And I think that's ultimately the bottom line of urbanism is trying to be prudent about what tool we're using.
Well, it seems like we're using the wrong tool in a lot of cases. We're trying to make a change and use the whole set of tools we got in the toolbox.
Yeah.
It's just slow going.
It's slow going. I think we'll get there. We're working on it. And I think more people, as they learn about this stuff, they see like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's something I can get behind, right?
Jen says in the chat here, I like mini roundabouts in residential neighborhoods.
Yeah,
I do too. There are a lot of them here in Vancouver. However, there was a study, and it's only one study, so like take it with a grain of salt or as you will, that showed that it transferred risk onto pedestrians and cyclists from drivers, which was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they might be less safe for people who are cycling and vulnerable road users generally. Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's surprising. I think that's one of those, common sense things. Like it feels, it feels like it would be right, but then you find out that might not be right.
It's only one study though. So
yeah. I'll have to learn more about that. Interesting. Nick, do you want to, the next thing, I don't know what you put in here. There's a comment.
I wanted to talk to you about that before because I don't know what it's relating to, so I don't think we should.
Okay, maybe we'll read that next week.
We
haven't been able to dive into that. Yeah, you can take this.
We got one from Jen here. What drew you to live where you live now? Well, maybe I'll talk. Well, Vancouver generally. I honestly, I had no idea about urbanism. It's like almost 8 years ago now. And my wife just wanted to move here. I said, sure, let's go. And then we did. And now we've been here for this long. But I can say the neighborhood differences. We moved to the neighborhood we live in now, and we lived there for a year. And then we moved to East Vancouver. And that was a big change. We were away from a lot of amenities that we really enjoyed. and we decided to move back here. And I think the biggest thing was the beach. We're closer to beaches, and we love walking to the beach, even in the winter. Just go for a walk and just look at the mountains and look at the ocean. There's something really, really relaxing and stress relieving about just being near the water. And every time we do, my wife says the same thing. She's like, "Oh, there's something about the water. There's something about being near the water." And I'm just like, "Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe there's some scientists, they know there's something going on in the brain with hormones and stuff. But yeah, just so nice. It's the water. That's why we're here."
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to read some comments in the chat before I share why I moved to where I am. Austin says, I moved to Calgary because of the C train, which is true. We've talked about this before on the show. Austin's told me about this story. He loves the C train, and don't we all? Here, Jack says, I grew up in a neighborhood that had speed dips instead of speed humps. Oh, this is talking about traffic calming and stuff. Speed dips, that's kind of, yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Jen says she chose hers for walkability and access to transit. Skitch says grad school, and then I met my boyfriend, and it's scrolled up, and he doesn't want to move, and we have built a great community here. I love that. Now, for myself, I have always been a South Calgary, a Southie, as some people say.
Southie.
Yeah, people in Calgary, there's like this big north south divide. Like it feels like you're on a different planet. I grew up in the South. And then when I moved to the north, when I moved out, I lived in Brentwood and close to the university, and I felt like I moved to the other side of the planet. Like I am a South Calgary person all of my life, and so that's why I prefer being here. The neighborhood specifically, I'm close to grocery stores. I've got lots of amenities. Proximity to Around the Bend is also a very big plus for myself. My favorite restaurant. Yeah, that's what got me here. Yeah, Willie says there it is. Yeah, can't forget Around the Bend. No, you cannot. Yeah, it is an interesting thing. One thing I want to highlight about, where people live. A lot of people choose to live somewhere because that's where they get to live. When I first came back to Calgary, I had been traveling for like 8, 10 months, and visiting family and friends across Canada and the US. Went on a big road trip, tons of fun, but I come back and it's kind of the height of the housing crisis, which of course we are still in a housing crisis. And when I came back, I spent 4 months looking for housing. And the place that I eventually found was in an illegal basement suite. And I happened to be friends with the owners. And I said, hey, listen, I just need a place to live, right? And so I think for a lot of people, like them choosing where they live, it's not really much of a choice. Like a lot of people just take what they can get. And I would love to live in a world where people are able to have that choice of where they want to live and what kind of house they want to live in and what kind of amenities they want to have near them. I would love for everybody to have the opportunity to have that choice, because most people don't. Most people just take what they can get. I was chatting with somebody the other day who I said, yeah, you're looking for a place? He's like, we'd love to look for a place. And I said, what kind of place are you looking at? He said, anything, absolutely anything. We will take it. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of choice in many cases. Some of us do. We're fortunate enough to have that, but sometimes that privilege isn't there, and you just have to live where you live. I know lots of people who are in those cases. They can't live in the city. They end up moving to a small town because that's what they can afford. And that's a big thing. We talk about on the show about having proximity and the power of proximity to where you work, the things you need, how much you can save by not using your car. But there is a buy-in to that in a lot of cases, which is just the problem with car dependency, right? If we can make all of our places in that way where everything you need is pretty much close to you, we can prevent that in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. What we're really trying to do, give people the option of where they want to live, in the kind of house they want to live in, and the options of how they want to get around their city as well. Our next little listener question here is from our dear friend Skitch. Skitch says, I'm taking a course on public involvement in decision making for transportation projects this week. I was wondering what the most memorable, impactful public engagement event you guys have participated in and what made that event stand out. Nick?
Interesting. Public engagement event. Could we have examples of that? What does that mean necessarily?
Yeah.
Is that like politicians coming out to talk about things, or?
Well, it can be. I mean, it can be. Like, it depends. A lot of cities will do engagement events. It's like an open house where you show up and you say, what you want to, what you want. Getting feedback, Skitch says, from the community on a project.
I'm going to be honest. I'm an email kind of person. Like, if I get something in the mail that's like, hey, we're thinking about building a new park here, I usually just send an email. That's like, I'm that guy. I'm sorry. I try to get into things, and I do, but I haven't been to any. There's actually a park being built not too far from where I live right now, and I've been meaning to go to the open house that's happening. So maybe it's something I'll have to get back to.
Yeah. Willie says he's more of a fax
guy. Yeah,
himself.
To fax something. Yeah, over the phone lines.
Yeah. I'm not calling in. I'm not showing up. I'm not emailing. I'm faxing. I'm sending a carrier pigeon with my opinions to the newspaper.
Not a raven. Use the pigeons.
Pigeons. Always. I'm a pigeon guy. A pigeon guy.
I don't know. I like the caw of the raven. It's very somber and melancholy in a way.
They're pretty cool. They're big birds too.
Yeah.
Anyways. I have been to a lot of engagements. Kind of interesting bit of conversation here. Nick's talking about never really going to engagement things, and that's part of the community involvement. Different people have different ways of being involved, but even somebody like Nick, I'm honestly surprised. I'm surprised, but you do other things in your community.
I go to strong towns. I go to critical mass.
Yeah. Not everybody can do everything. Important to remember, right? Well, my favorite community engagement, specifically to do with transportation, guys, come on, is going to be the open house for the Alberta Passenger Rail project, the master plan that the provincial government is working on right now. Like, okay, most of it was just like boards, and there were people there that you could talk to. But this ticket is so cute. You go around to all of the stations and you get the ticket stamped. How could you not love this? Skitch in the chat. I thought you'd say that, Alex. Haha. Yeah, exactly. Jen, did you win a prize for punching all the holes in the card? No, alas, I did not. But I think probably the only person who got my card punched by every single person who was at each station. A lot of people just they wound up at station 5, and station 5 says, "Oh, did you go to the other ones? Okay, I'll hole punch those for you." But yeah, I got the prize of learning. It was beautiful. It was truly beautiful. We need more of these.
And that hole punch is just phenomenal. The hole punch idea. That's so cool.
Right?
I love that.
Yeah, it makes it memorable because now I'm going to hold on to this, right?
Yeah.
Like, otherwise it's just like, it's recycling. That was kind of interesting. But now I'm like, oh yeah, station 1, station 2, very, very cool idea. I love it. Do you want to take this next one?
Yeah. Oh, you got another one in here. Sure. Yeah. This is from Mrs. Biffle Chips. I think the weirdest, most awkward thing I've brought on transit was an 8-foot piece of lumber on the bus. Luckily, there was only 1 or 2 other people on the bus. Yeah. That's pretty weird. We talked about this last week. I think this was Jen's question. What was the weirdest thing you've carried on transit, on your bike, or even walking? And I think I said like a bag of cat food. And then I realized like a month ago, I used my scooter to like carry a whole boxed piece of furniture from like a store that's kind of like IKEA, but not IKEA, basically. And that was weird. It was several blocks and it was very heavy, and I was surprised the scooter did it, but it did it.
I'm impressed. Doesn't Tom have a video where he biked to IKEA?
I think it was like we talked about earlier in the show about the thing that Patty and Tom did. I think Jason from Not Just Bikes and Tom did the same thing, and that's what they did. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah. They biked and picked something up
from like a hardware store.
Yeah. It's, I mean, yeah, you can, make it fun, right? Be a little goofy. Yeah. Well, this was a ton of
I
fun.
got one extra thing if we want to
Yeah, let's
slip
keep
that in there.
going.
We got
This is too short.
it's such
We're
a short
it's
show.
because we miss Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan's got
As everyone knows, Ethan is the only person who ever talks on this podcast. Nick and I cannot get a word in edgewise.
Yeah. This is coming from Streets Blog NYC out of New York City. So this video I'm showing here is from the north side of the Queensboro Bridge heading into Manhattan from the Queens. And this is a mixed pedestrian and active transportation route. It's not very wide, especially the bike lane side. You can see it's basically it's the width of a single bike lane meant for two. It's ridiculous. But they've been planning to open up another lane on the south side of the bridge, the other side for pedestrians, and basically make this one only for active transportation. Excellent idea. There's I don't know how many lanes on this bridge. I'm pretty sure there's 6 lanes for cars. Why not do this? But Mayor Adams abruptly calls off planned Queensboro Bridge pedestrian path opening. So the Queensboro Bridge long-awaited pedestrian path was in the works to open this weekend until Mayor Adams intervened. So it's just yet another one, a strike for Mayor Adams in New York City. He's not been good for urbanism in the past little while for the city. It's just it just sucks. And this seems like another one that's just like what's going on? No, there's no future date that this is going to be opened. They just said, you know what? We're just gonna just not do that right now. What's going on with no explanation? Just nothing. Just suck it. That's what you get out of this.
Yeah, you said he hasn't been good for urbanism. I haven't heard he's been good for anything.
Yeah. He seems like he's there at the behest of people who don't even live in the city. It seems like.
Yeah. Jack says, "What is this? A bike lane for ants?" Yeah. Can you bring that video back up again,
sure,
please?
Yeah.
Because this actually it looked pretty well used. By the way, for people,
yeah, it's busy.
Wondering, we share the screen sometimes, and you can check out. You can see what we're looking at here. That is very high. I never realized how high this is, and there are so many trees down there too.
Well, that's a different island right there to the right there. It's a very narrow island in the river, the East River, and then there's actually a gondola you can see there on the right as well, which goes from Manhattan to that island that's kind of in the middle of the river there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, I've never been to New York, so this is all kind of new. But it looks pretty well used.
Yeah, it's I mean, this was in June of 2023 when I went. It was, as busy as it gets. I think it was beautiful weather. This was after the smoke had cleared when there was the fires from Canada billowing into New York State.
Yeah.
So it was busy time. It was high time for tourism. So it was definitely being used. But even in the winter, you'll see we had Miser on the show a couple months ago, and him and people like him are riding all year long, along with the people who are delivering a lot of the goods that are being moved around the city. Their active transportation network is being used. They might only get 2% of the modal share, but that's a lot of people, man. That's a lot of people.
In New York, that's a ton of people.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting, we talked about this when Tom was on the show, is that as bike share, as more people ride their bikes in the summer, more people ride their bikes in the winter, and the difference is infrastructure. That's it's not necessarily that you get the same number of people riding their bikes in the winter, just like the way that transit use changes throughout the year, right? Here in Calgary, there's a few routes that are very focused on serving universities and high schools. And throughout the year, those services wax and wane, whether it's a weekend or it's summer break or spring break or Christmas break. But then, we still have that infrastructure, right? Sometimes our highways are very busy. Sometimes they're quiet. It depends on the time of day. It depends, if there's an event somewhere, or if it's a long weekend and people are leaving, or maybe they're gone, or, there's all of these things. And so when we're planning our transportation services and systems, it's important to remember the diversity of choice that we need to have, and the diversity of systems that we need to have, so that we can have some redundancies, so that, I'm not going to get there this way because that's going to be packed because so-and-so and so-and-so are going to that event and it's going to be busy. There's different ways to get around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and these things are so space efficient. It's something that we really need to give it an honest go. Like, I just wish we could do that much. It comes back to the whole thing when a bike lane gets built and it's like, oh, nobody's using the bike lane. It's like, yeah, you built some paint in the middle of a highway. No kidding. Like, obviously and that's the only one. It's the same thing. Even if you build a really nice bike lane somewhere, if it doesn't have the whole network, it's not going to get used as much as it otherwise would.
Yeah.
And that's very important. And I just wish we could get to a point somewhere in North America where that is the case. And I feel like Montreal is the closest it really is, but New York is getting up there. They're going to be in the top 5 very soon if they keep heading the direction they've been heading in. It's good. Even since I've been there, I've seen so many new projects get finished that I really need to go back and check it out already.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. When somebody says nobody's using that bike lane, I ask, would you? Would you use that bike lane? Would you, oh no, I wouldn't use that bike lane because it's way too close to the cars. Yeah. Right? Nobody bikes there. I mean, would you bike there? Right? Like, would you get out on your wheels and bike on that road? I think that's an excellent question to ask people. Because there's a difference, right? Maybe there's a reason you're not seeing somebody bike there. But maybe there's a way that you could make it actually viable for somebody to bike there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or even ask, would you let your 10-year-old kid bike there by themselves? Yeah. But even in places where it is relatively busy, you'll often see these same arguments, which is just wild to me. Like this is a video from, I took this last night, actually. I'm doing a little guest spot on City for All when it comes to urbanism news here in Vancouver. And this is the Burrard Bridge, which is one of the busiest bridge for cyclists in North America. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 cyclists on just one of the lanes in one direction, not counting the other direction. And it's a place I've heard people say to my face, oh, nobody ever uses that bike lane. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Just go. Just stand there for 2 seconds.
Wait, pause it here.
Yeah.
Okay. So looking at this video, you can, pedestrians and cyclists, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You can see 20 people headed in that specific direction. Now, if you're watching the video, you can see there's a lot of empty space. And you can imagine that if your experience of this bike lane is driving past it, it will feel like there are not that many people in the bike lane, because when you look to your right and you're looking at it, you might see one person and then this big empty stretch as you continue driving, and then one person and then a big empty stretch as you continue driving. So we said 19 cyclists and pedestrians there. Now, drivers, people in cars going in the same direction, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars
on 2 lanes.
7 cars on 2 lanes. Okay, those lanes they look to be about twice as wide, at least, as the bike lane, plus a little bit of a shoulder I see there. There are not guaranteed. I can almost guarantee you there's not 2 people on average in each of those cars. And even if there are still more people on this smaller space. So it's very space efficient. It's space efficient. It's cost efficient, right? And again, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're going out for a nice bike ride, right? Like, different people have different reasons for choosing the mode of transportation that they're choosing to use. But what you cannot say, because it is not true, I guess you can say it, nobody's going to stop you from saying it, but it is space efficient and it is cost efficient. And in a city, we need to make those considerations if we want to have, efficient budgeting, if we want to actually support a city. We need to provide these options, and different people will choose different things, so that if you need to drive, you can drive. And if you want to bike, you can bike. All of these are options, and they should remain options.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's my rant of the day. Fifth rant of the day.
You could just rant all day and that'd be the whole podcast. I think it'd be a good idea. But I just wanted to highlight something else here too. This is just at the end of Burrard Bridge here in Kitsilano. And this is it's on I don't know how to pronounce it. It's indigenous land here where this development here. There's 3 towers going up right now. And this is one I've talked about this in the past on the show. And this is the development where they have over 3,000 spots for bikes. And I think they have 800 parking stalls for cars in this place. And they're really prioritizing just active transportation in general in this area. So those are only the 3 buildings that have gone up. In the foreground, in front of the bridge, is another spot. I think there's another like 7 towers that are going to be going up. It's going to be wild. Like, it's crazy just to see the city transform. Even going down that bridge, the way it feels going by these towers that are like right next to the bridge, it's crazy. It's cool to see the city develop. I mean, I would like to see a lot more missing middle, but if this is all we get, it's what we get. We get some more towers. It's already the city of glass towers, anyways. Let's just embrace it.
Yeah, yeah. I think diversity is nice, right? Having the option is nice. But yeah, that's a huge project.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Anyway. Yeah. Well, do we have anything else to say?
I think we stretched out the show enough. We're over 50 minutes here.
Yeah, we yapped. Well, thanks to everyone who is sitting in the live chat, including Jack, Willie, Jen, Austin, and Skitch. Thank you guys for a great show. If we start getting more and more people, I'm not sure I can shout everyone out, but we're
gonna have to get somebody to be our little producer or something.
I'll continue to do my best. But this was fantastic. Jack says favorite day of the week. If you guys want to join folks like these and hop in to the live chat, you can go to patreon.com/radiofreeurbanism. And for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show, help keep the lights on, and join the Discord, join the live chat here on Wednesdays. And, I don't know. Like, I feel like that's that. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that, right?
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. So, this was fun, guys. Usually Ethan wraps us up. He says something like, "Thank you, beautiful people. We love you very much." Nick, where can the good people find you?
You can find me, Nick Laporte, at Nick the Door on YouTube, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Occasionally, once in a while, I pop in there. I'd usually like once every 2 weeks. I'm like, here's 3 posts.
Bold.
But anyway, how about you, Alex?
Yeah, people can go to visit me at Humane Cities on YouTube and Instagram. Or if you'd like to follow more of my campaign and other things of the sort, you can follow me at Alex Williams YYC, pretty much wherever. This was good, grand, and groovy. Nick, take us out.
2 wheels good.
And feet first. I'm trying so hard to press stop. It's not letting me click stop.
Stop.
Here. Well, we're stuck here. Sorry.